top 10 picks, always very exciting. Round 1, pick number 6, Carolina Panthers. There's a lot of things they are looking for, especially quarterback's a big option for them, but we have a couple of options that they could select from. Let's get started. Who do you think the Carolina Panthers are looking at in this draft?
So the Carolina Panthers have themselves in kind of a really bad situation. They do have the number 6 overall pick in the NFL draft, but they don't have a second or a third round pick. So that means this is their only pick until they go again in the fourth round. And once you get into the fourth round, you're kind of taking flyers on guys, getting a lot of backups. So at number 6, this is their best chance to get an impact player. And this is where it's kind of going to be really kind of hard for them. So we gave them kind of 2 doors to go into right here. The first door is if they fail to get a quality veteran tackle in free agency, you got to get Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. Originally, Evan Neal probably would have been the number 1 target here for the Carolina Panthers. The way the draft is going right now and shaping up, Evan Neal is projected to go higher than number 6. Carolina won't have a chance to get him. So they're going to settle for Charles Cross, who's a great prospect. Some people even have him rated higher than Neal. He's actually a better pass blocker than Neal. That's maybe the only downside, and Carolina likes to run the ball a little bit more, but he's still a great prospect, Cross is. So again, if you don't get the tackle in free agency, I think you go Charles Cross here because that's such a big team name. Now, if you do get your guy, maybe an Orlando Brown, maybe an Armstead from New Orleans, Matt Corral sitting here at number 6 is a great option. And I'll tell you why, and I want your take on the other side of this. Carolina wants to be a running football team. That's who they are. That's their identity. Remember, even Sam Darnold was known as a good runner. One of the reasons why they brought him in. Cam Newton did a lot of that running plays, whether it's goal line or zone read kind of stuff. That's what they want to be. Matt Corral carried the load for Ole Miss a lot last season. A lot of zone reads, a lot of RPOs. He even got hurt with all the load that was put on him. I think he sprained his ankle during the season and got hurt again in the bowl game. Right. This is a guy who's used to carrying the load, and he kind of fits a lot of what Carolina wants to do there. What do you think about that?
I like the pick. I watched Corral play a couple of games this season. He looked like a very interesting prospect. Obviously coming out of a Lane Kiffin based offense, really good, like almost pro style-esque offense. He can really throw the ball. Played in a good SEC team. A lot of tough competition out there. I like the Charles Cross pick here as well. I feel like it is the better of the 2 players talent-wise, and it's a valuable pick for Carolina to shore up that O-line because they have a lot of problems there. So that's a good option as well, but I tend to think maybe our second option for the Carolina Panthers is the better option for them. What do you think?
So I think we came up with this, and I think it's a pretty cool strategy. Like I said, they only have 1 pick in the first 3 rounds, and they need to shore up that offensive line. Everybody knows it. And getting a Cross at number 6, while good, it doesn't fix all the problems. So we projected the possibility of Carolina trading back into the 20s in the first round of the NFL draft. What that means is they'll probably get a first-round pick next year and a third-round pick this year on top of swapping picks. That's usually what those kind of trades net at minimum, if not more. I think the natural pick could be a team like Pittsburgh or, somewhere around that range in the draft, a team, maybe even the Saints looking up to get a quarterback. So somewhere around that range. And there at that pick, that's where we think they should take Trevor Penning, the offensive tackle from Northern Iowa. Penning is 6'7", 320 pounds. This dude on every draft profile and all the film is a mauler. He loves run blocking. If he had it his way, every play would be a quarterback sneak so he could just mush into a huge pile. This is an old school kind of guy. Fits a lot, like we talked about. Carolina wants to run the football. This is a guy who comes into your locker room in that offensive line wanting to run the football. The guy's a monster, great hands, great explosiveness, great power. He's got some technique issues, pass blocking. But again, if you want to run the ball, if you want to keep pounding like Carolina does, he is the pick. And then they use their 3rd-round pick. You get a guy from LSU, guard Ed Ingram. Look, Ed Ingram is kind of a smart, savvy. He's a veteran. He played a lot at LSU. He's ready to start right away. He's a little bit more of a finesse player, but, I still think just because he's so valuable, a guy to get in the 3rd round who can come in at guard right away. And a lot of times when you need at guard is sometimes a guy, depending on your scheme, and if Carolina wants to run more zone blocking, you need a guy who can move a little bit, need a guy who can kind of, get off, help the center get on blocks on the defensive line before working up to the linebackers, picking up stunts and stuff in pass protection, which Carolina was awful at last year. I think Ed Ingram's a guy that could get out of LSU and jump in right away and help that team out.
I love these picks, and here is why. It has been said many times and described Matt Rule is almost a lame duck head coach. He's just a placeholder because you don't want to blow up everything you have in 1 year. You want to keep some normalcy on the team. You could get rid of all of the coordinators, got everything, but you had to keep the head coach. I believe Tepper is going to get rid of Rule if there isn't like some major playoff push this season. I think Rule's gone after this year. And so instead of using your draft picks on a quarterback that maybe Rule tries to bully you into getting, you invest in the future. You're looking to next year already. You get 2 solid offensive linemen, and that is going to benefit your future. And I think this is what Tepper is looking for. Solid investments, a good investment strategy. You invest in the O-line, it pays dividends down the road into your quarterback play. And this has been noted a kind of a light quarterback draft. There's no one who's actually like Trevor Lawrence's, Joe Burrow's, no generational talents. There's just people who are okay. So I think pivoting toward the offensive line side of things is a very smart move, and you're not gambling away your high first-round draft pick here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think Carolina is going to try and trade back again. You're always going to have to find a buyer on the other end of the line. But you brought it up, David Tepper. He's an investor. He's a dealer. That's how he made his money. That's how he made his career. That's the mindset he wants to instill in the organization as the owner. And the reason we brought up Pittsburgh as a potential trade option is, remember, David Tepper used to be a minority owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there is that connection there. Maybe that's a kind of starting point to broker a deal. But yeah, 100% the best strategy for Carolina. Trade back, get that offensive line, get that infrastructure, so that way when you do get your quarterback, probably next year with the new head coach, you've got the right ecosystem for him to be successful.